You can see our fuel. We have 238 Delta V left. This is close. Welcome back to my Let's Play for Kerbal Space Program. I'm Splurgoth, and as you recall in the last episode, we had a little bit of an issue with getting into space. I made a mistake with actually constructing the rocket, and that was my mistake, and I'm sure you guys noticed it way before I did. So today we're not going to just do a suborbital flight, we're going to go for going into orbit. I went ahead and selected the go into orbit mission from mission control. And let's take a look at our rocket here. This was the rocket that we had used, the long shot. And as you can see, here is our engine. And here is the decoupler that was put in the wrong spot. So I'm going to go ahead and fix that. And there. Now it's in the correct place. And we'll save that. But since we're going to go for orbit, this rocket is not going to get us there. So I'm going to go ahead and make some adjustments to it. And we're going to actually call this the Long Shot Mark II. I need fuel. And if I press Alt and click, it'll just give me the same part over and over and over again. So now this is definitely going to be enough fuel for my orbital insertion. And then I need a little bit left over to deorbit and come back home. Otherwise, we'll be stuck up there forever. Or until I could mount a rescue mission. Now we're going to need more fuel for the first stage. And I'm going to put 6 total fuel segments on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, good. Now we're going to go over and look at the stats for the rocket. And as we can see here, this is our Delta V. How much Delta V we have to put the rocket into orbit or to move it. We have almost 1,300 there on the first stage. And then this is the second stage where we have 1,984. Now, the TWR shows basically how much oomph or power is pushing up versus the mass and the gravity pulling down. You want this to be over 1 to go up. Now, more the better, or more the greater power that you have. I could keep adding fuel to this, but then we're going to add mass and weight to the rocket. This engine is going to not be able to get the rocket off the ground. So right now, we don't have enough energy to get off the ground. I'm going to have to do something. And what I'm going to do is add a little more engine oomph by adding 2 hammer solid rocket fuel boosters. And we're just going to place them at the bottom there. And we'll put our fins back on, like so. And we'll put a couple extra fins on there this time. And I'll adjust our science because we need to take science up. That's the whole point. And here we go. And let's change some colors around. Hey, let's make it orange. Why not? Okay, so there's our rocket. And now I'm going to have to save it. And we'll just make sure our staging is in the correct order. We have our solid rocket boosters. We're going to actually activate the main engine at the same time we're activating the solid rocket boosters. And then decouple, new engine, decouple again, parachute. What we're going to have here is a little bit of an unstable rocket because I can't detach these solid rocket boosters. I can't put a nose cone on these solid rocket boosters. I don't have that technology yet. So I suspect it's going to be a bit of a rough ride up. So we're going to go to launch, excuse me. And we're going to watch our craft fall over. Okay, well, that was interesting. I'm not quite sure why it did that. Maybe because of the wind. Obviously, there is no supports right now holding it up. It's just kind of balanced on that. So what we're going to do is revert flight. We'll revert back to the vehicle assembly. I don't think anything is unsymmetried. So I think we're good. We'll just try it again. And you'll also notice that I did update the launch pad. It cost 50,000 credits, but it's certainly a lot better now than the solid concrete. And there we go. We are balancing on our rocket engine now. We are not falling over. I'm going to turn on our stability assist, so our pilot Jebediah will be able to assist us in keeping this hopefully straight. And I'm also going to hit M to go to the map. And this is the map of space. This is our home world. And here's the moon, which is our first moon. And this actually has two moons. There's Mimas over here. And if we zoom out even further, you can see the whole solar system, other planets that are future goals to get to. But for now, we're just trying to get into space. So I'm going to turn until I can see where our launch is, and it's right here. This is our Kerbal Space Center. And I like to have a nice view so that when I make my turn across the equator, we'll have a nice little arc going here, and I will be able to see how high up we're going to be going. So I'm going to go back. And I believe everything is all set for launch. We have our main rockets set on the first stage, but I'm not going to throttle up our main rocket because I want to go ahead and use our solid rocket boosters first and conserve the fuel that we have in our main rocket. I will end up turning that on as those solid rocket boosters end up petering out. So up we go. And we're going decently fast. Accelerating good enough. And I'm going to activate our primary rocket because there went all our fuel on the solid rocket boosters. And I'm going to attempt to do my turn. And unfortunately, I'm not able to do my gravity turn because this is still the Reliant engine, not the gimbaled engine. So we will do our best to pull it over. I'm not sure if I'll make it into orbit with this engine. We'll see. We'll throttle back a little. And I'm literally, as you can see, my yaw is all the way over, and I am trying my darndest to turn this vessel. But unfortunately, it just doesn't really want to go over. Go back to the map. You can see that is my apoapsis is about 36,000 right now. And we are coming up to the end of our liquid fuel for the first stage. It should get a lot easier once I jettison this stage to turn. And there we go. And look at how much easier this nav ball turns. Our orbit's not going to be over the equator, but it doesn't matter. We just need to get into orbit. So I'm going to go until our apoapsis, which is the maximum height of our orbit, gets to close to 80,000 meters. Remember, we need to get to 70,000 to be into space. And there we are. We're at about 78,000 right now, so that's fine. And then I'm going to wait a little bit until we get closer to our apoapsis to begin my orbital burn. So here you can see on the nav ball a yellow circle with 3 lines coming out like this. That is our retrograde marker, meaning if I line up with that, we will be going exactly in the direction, or be pointing exactly in the direction that we're going. I'm going to actually burn along the 90-degree mark on the nav ball, which hopefully will make our orbit a little more across the equator. Once again, it doesn't really matter for this launch. Now, I usually wait until we get close to the apoapsis to begin our burn for the orbital insertion, because it's more efficient that way. Now, you heard this music start, so we are definitely in space, and I'm going to begin our orbital insertion. And here you can see our arc for our orbit is indeed expanding. Now we do need to get it to wrap all the way around the planet. And I'm not sure we're going to make it. Oh, there we go. Our apoapsis. And here's our periapsis. We need to get that above 70,000 as well in order to be considered in orbit. So I'm going to actually fast forward a little bit until we get to our new apoapsis, and then I'm going to burn retrograde again. And fast forward. Okay, there we are. We are now close enough to our apoapsis. You can see our fuel. We have 238 delta V left. This is close. So I'm going to line up our apoapsis. And I'm not even going to do a full burn. I'm going to gently open up the engines. There we go. Done. Orbit. And now we're in orbit. And you can tell by going to our contracts, and we can see orbit Kerbal. Goal achieved. Yay! Okay, while we're up here, let's do some signs. You can see we're on the dark side of the planet. Unfortunately, it's not really good for recording videos, but we'll do what we can. Mystery goo. Whatever that goo is, we will observe it. It's clumped in a sphere. Interesting. We'll keep that. 10 science. Lovely. We will observe temperature. Another 8 science. We will log pressure. Another 12 science. It's as if we were in a vacuum. Let's do a crew report. And let's get another first out of the way here. We're going to EVA, maybe. You know what? I can't EVA yet because the astronaut complex has not been upgraded. So, let's go back to the Space Center. And we're going to upgrade the astronaut complex. So, we'll click on this. You see that it takes 75,000 to upgrade, which is fine. We have the money. And bam, the astronaut complex has been upgraded, and now we can do an EVA. To go back, we'll just go to our tracking station. We'll click on our vessel, the long shot, Mark II, and click fly. Okay. Now we should be able to EVA. And there we go. Our little Kerbal is out in space for the first time. I'm just going to do an EVA report. I'm going to store the data inside. First I'll take all the data, then I'll store all the data. In fact, can I take the data from the thermometer? I can take the data from the science instruments. At least the thermometer. I don't know if I can reach the... Yep, there we go. And we'll store that inside too, just in case the instruments burn off on the way in. And let's get back into the ship. And we can begin our deorbital burn. In fact, what I'm going to do is we're going to go in a complete circle and get back to our apoapsis, and we'll do a deorbit burn there so that it makes the most of our very limited fuel to bring this periapsis back down. So let's zip around. And we will come back around onto the dark side and begin our deorbit burn. There we go. I'm going to have to turn now. That's prograde. I'm going to look for the mark for retrograde. Ooh, my SAS was off. And here is the mark for retrograde. It's also a yellow circle, but you can see the three lines are a little bit positioned differently. They're kind of sticking down more. Okay, and now I will begin my burn, and you can see it come down like that. That would actually work because even though it's not hitting the ground, as we enter the atmosphere, we will slow down. Where do I want to land? Well, definitely on the light side so we can see what we're doing. I'm going to just bring this down a little bit further. There we go. Good enough. This way we have a nice, gentle descent into Kerbal, not going straight down. The next thing we want to do is I will turn the craft around so that we're facing prograde again, and I will jettison our basically spent engine there. This way we don't hit it with the command pod. And there she goes. And then I can very easily, apparently, turn us back into prograde, or retrograde, excuse me. And now all we have to do is wait until we hit the atmosphere. I will fast forward for that. You can see our altitude is dropping significantly. And there we go. The speed up stops when we reach the atmosphere, and what a beautiful sunrise. Now that is worth watching. Look at that. I can't imagine to be an actual astronaut and seeing that for real. Now, we want to make sure that we keep our ship in the retrograde position in order to keep our heat shield always pointed towards the direction that we're going. And I'm just going to speed up a little bit until we start hitting the atmosphere and heating up. Okay. And there we are. you could see the fire and the flames. And if I go up here, now remember our ablator was at 100 to start with, because I had taken about half of it off to save some weight. So you'll see that hopefully that was a wise decision. And now we just ride the atmosphere back in. And you can see here that our speed, I mean, it was very quick, very fast, but it is now dropping rather quickly due to the friction in the atmosphere. And let's see where we're going to end up. Hopefully, in this ocean here. Alright, almost through. And we will just keep going. I may cut through some of this and see you when the fiery re-entry ends. Alright, looks like our fiery re-entry is just about done. Now, it doesn't really matter which way we're facing. We are just literally free falling right now. So, now when I turn my craft, you can see that it's using electrical charge right here. See how it goes down? It's because of the reaction wheels that are on board. And it's going to become important later on for us to have the ability to recharge our electrical charge. You can see it's going down after I put the stability assist controls on, because Jebediah is actually trying to keep the craft stable. Now I'm going to go ahead and deploy the chute. It's not going to actually deploy until we get to about 1,000 meters. And we'll just sail on down until splashdown. I'll fast forward here. And there's our beautiful chute. And here we are falling into the crystal blue waters. And there. Alright, now we're on the ground. Well, actually we're not on the ground. We're literally floating in the ocean. But while we're here, let's take some, see if we can take some scientific data. If we try to log pressure, look at that. We could actually still get some signs. This is a location that we have not done any science in, so we're going to go ahead and log some signs. More the better. More the better. We'll do a crew report. We'll do an EVA. We'll do an EVA report. More science. Lovely. We'll go back into the capsule. And now we're ready to recover the vessel. Alright, and so here is our summary. You can see here that we actually did get quite a bit of science. 66.2. We're now up to a total of 115 science. Very nice. Didn't get much back from recovering of the ship, but that's okay. And Jebediah gained a level, so he's advanced to level 1, which is awesome. Now I'm going to check out our messages here. You can see that we've completed our contracts. We've escaped the atmosphere. We've got several new milestones. Broken land distance records, speed records, altitude records. We've reached space. Performed a spacewalk in orbit. And we returned safely, which is rather important. And here are our other contracts that we completed. We escaped the atmosphere, we orbited Kerbin, and of course we orbited Kerbin. Oh, okay, there you go. We actually accomplished the goal that we set out to at the beginning of this episode, which is to not only get into space, but to get into an orbit. And we managed to do so. So let's just take a look, and we have, oh, look at that, the aerodynamic nose cones, and there's our radial decoupler, which would have been made life easier when we had those solid rocket boosters attached to our ship. So we're going to go ahead and research that. I think we'll call this episode here. We did manage to complete our goal. So next time, we're going to have to see what missions are available. Ultimately, the goal is to get to the Mun and plant our flag there. My name is Splurgoth, and if you've received any kind of enjoyment out of this, go ahead and click that like button. If you want to be notified when the next episode is ready, please click that subscribe button. I thank you so very much for joining me, and until next time.